that particular scripture, it's talking about the dual effect that a human being has had on people in their lives. Those people who they treated well are those who are going to be mourning their passing. Those who they abused are the people who will be rejoicing their their passing. I mean, it's a very simple scripture to understand. Even though during the time of someone's death, a lot of people want to compromise the clear perception of what that scripture is actually saying, and they want to make it complicated because their emotions are involved. I mean, just ask the Jewish community, how did they feel when they found out that Adolf Hitler took his own life? They were rejoicing. They wasn't mourning. I promise you they wasn't. So any human being that lives their lives in a in activity of abusing those in their life or mistreating people, when they eventually leave this planet, the people who they abuse are going to be rejoicing. And the people who they decided to exercise some type of morality towards them are going to be mourning. So it's talking about two different communities that were created based upon the effect of how this particular person treated one group of people and another group of people. Now, this past December the 11th, my mother had passed on from drug abuse, which she started, to my understanding, as early as 1974. She started utilizing drugs. Um, to my knowledge, as early as 1974, when I happened to come into her room when we was all living in Chicago, and she was laying on her sofa in her pink nightgown, and she was sitting up there smoking a joint. And I don't recall what me and my mother was talking about, but during that conversation, she looked at me and she saw that I was crying. And she said, "What's the matter with you? Why are you crying?" And I told my mother, I said, "Mama, I don't want you smoking that stuff because I saw how marijuana was compromising the characteristics of a whole lot of people who I grew up with, as well as my uncles, and that was painful within itself. But to walk into a room and see that your mother is doing the same thing, that was immensely painful to me. But she told me I'll do what I want to do. I do what I want to do. And from that point on, I saw that everything that my mother was involved in started failing. And so this was 1974. So you're going into the disco era right now. And so when disco clubs opened up, because see, my mother was an entertainer, so she would always be going around these different clubs. She was like a nightclub singer, and she wasn't doing that. She was a waitress, pushing drinks, and so she was always around that type of environment, to where there was always drugs being distributed. She was into the nightlife, the nightlife, and so from 1974, I saw a moral decline, not only in my mother and through the neighborhood, but in the world in general. And when the disco era came in, to where all of these different disco clubs opened up, and that was um, more of a tool for integration than anything that I've ever seen. And the reason why I say that is because there was no more just American Bandstand where you saw the majority of white people dancing, or Soul Train where you saw just black people dancing. When the disco era hit, that's where you saw a collaboration of blacks and whites partying together, And within the midst of all of that, you had the cocaine, you had the ecstasy, and you even had the music that was encouraging the drug use, and you even had music that was no longer like love songs or had any type of guidance in it. It was just music that chant, wave your hands in the air and shake it like you just don't care. Or this song called, it was called Party, Let Yourself Go and Party. It was never music that was encouraging or love based. It was just a music that had a little chant message in it. And it really wasn't saying anything. And then you had the drugs around, everybody was drinking, doing drugs, and everything. And next thing you know, the drug use had increased, and everybody was sleeping around with total strangers. You wake up in the middle of the night, you you as a kid, you're going to the restroom, and all of a sudden you go in there, so you can use the restroom, and there's a total stranger standing up there using your toilet, looking back at you. Oh, excuse me, little man. He goes, he walks past you, and you look at him walking down the hall. He just so happens to turn into your mother's room. You ain't ever seen this dude, no place in your life, not even in the company of your uncles. And so this wasn't even a family friend. This was a total stranger. you know. So it's like it was a whole lot going on. And so as time goes on, you see the abuse of drugs swell in your community, and you see your son, you know, you see your friends get turned out. You see people who you used to look up to who were slightly older than you in the age status of your uncles and older sisters and everything. And next thing you know, they're walking down the street, they're high. Everybody's high now, you know. And so here's the younger generation as myself, and these are the examples that I'm supposed to be looking up to, you know. And you look around and everybody's high. Every day, from 8 o'clock in the morning, you got some blow. It's like that's the first thing people think about when they wake up in the morning, you know, it's drugs. And then as time goes on, you see your mother get strung out on prescription drugs because she's of age now and her body is starting to break down, and she goes through all of these operations like knee replacements and things as such, and she gets hooked on pain pills, and you find out that your mother has been on a path of self destruction ever since you walked into her bedroom, and that particular path is the path of death because that's all it's going to lead to. And so as you become older and you become more mature, you come to understand that you lost your mother way back in 1974 when you walked in on her smoking a joint. She died even way back then. It was just only a matter of time before all of the abuse that she put inside of her organism took her from you. And so here it is, this past December the 11th, I was given the news that my mother had passed away, and they found her unresponsive in Sacramento, California, of a prescription drug overdose. And it's a shame because people don't care enough about their lives in order to try to preserve their lives. Here's a woman who wasn't just a mother, but she was a grandmother and a great grandmother who didn't care enough about life in her particular life to think about the effects that her passing would have not only on her children but her grandchildren and her great grandchildren. I get on the phone and I had to give this information to my sons, and I'm not going to lie to my sons. I told my sons that she overdosed on prescription drugs because she was a drug addict. That's the type of information that you have to pass down to your sons about their grandmother, which to me was unfortunate because of her being irresponsible with her life. So it's like when people don't care anything about their own life, you know, they really don't care how their life, their death is going to be interpreted to their children, their grandchildren, and their great grandchildren. And to me, that's very irresponsible, very irresponsible. Because when you get strung out on drugs, it's only a path of self-destruction. That's pretty much all it is. It's a path of self-destruction. And when it's all about and you want to get high, you know, it's the reason why I call it totally irresponsible. It's not that you're abusing your own organism. You have to understand, by you being a mother, it's not just your organism. It's your children's organism. And by you having grandchildren, that's their organism as well that you're abusing. And your great grandchildren. You just don't belong to yourself anymore. You know, you also belong to your offspring. And how you leave here, how you leave here, that information is going to be passed down to your offspring. And you don't want to disgrace yourself to the degree to where you leave a memory that is disgraceful to your children, your grandchildren, and your great grandchildren. You you have to be responsible enough of being concerned about how your memory is going to be impacted on everyone who loves you. Now, my family is um, upset at me because I haven't shed a tear. But what they don't understand is when I walked in there in 1974 and I saw her abusing drugs, and by me knowing exactly what direction that these drugs are going in, because I come up in Chicago and I saw my friends get strung out on drugs. I saw their parents get strung out on drugs. I knew the path that she was on, and I had to accept that when she said I would do whatever I wanted to do. So that right there told me, well, she's just going to continue to destroy herself. So when it's when it's like that, in order to protect yourself, you have to let them go, because they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do anyway. So that portion of my mother's life, I just let it go, because sooner or later, I knew that I was going to get that phone call, because I saw how strung out she was on drugs when I went to Sacramento, when I was thinking about moving out there. When I had her hold some important footage to me of my oldest son being born. And she threw that footage in the trash because I didn't give her $50. And considering the way that she left me, that right there helped me understand the reason why she did that, and the reason why she needed $50, why she was currently married to someone. Why are you asking me for money when you have a husband? I'm not responsible for you. Your husband is responsible for your $50. And simply because I didn't give her $50, she threw my oldest son's footage in the trash that I was going to have edited and show him at the age of 21, the very moment he was brought into the world. But she didn't care anything about that. All she cared about was getting $50 so that she can go get her some drugs. That's all she cared about. And if that's all you care about, that's all that's going to be around you during your last moments. And so it was. But it's a shame that people don't value their lives to the degree that they kill themselves and not care about how how, how their life is going to be interpreted. Now people say, "Well, you act like you don't care." Hey, why should I care? She didn't care about her life and the way that she was treating me through the years, along with my older sister. No, I don't care. I don't have any tears for anyone who doesn't care enough about their own life. No, I have no tears for anyone who don't care anything about their own life. Why should I? So they say, mourn with those who mourn and rejoice with those who rejoice. I'm with those who rejoice. I have no reason to mourn her. You know, I have no reason. So if you don't care about your life, don't expect other people to care either. She's done a wrong to a whole lot of people, and I'm not alone in what I'm feeling. Now, my older sister, she's all been out of shape and oh, I've been searching for a mother all my life. Yeah, I've been searching for a mother all my life too, and I would have had one if you'd have stayed the hell out of the way. Because from what my mother told me, she wanted to be the only child, and she went out of her way to see to it that she was, in a whole lot of ways that I could explain, but I'm I refuse to go into all of that. But that's pretty much it. Take care of yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will. If you don't care about your own life, don't expect other people to care about it either.